This is a tutorial for my boar-shaped infinite boar farm. As you can see, it's kind of shaped like a boar, and it's got a breeding pair of boars here in the snout area. They're trapped in there and won't move around too much unless they're eating. And the way you feed them is by using these platforms to align yourself and tossing raspberries or whatever you'd like into the nostrils. They'll then eat those and then breed, and when they have a baby, the baby will fall down into this pit here. And the fact that the babies are far enough away means that they won't stop breeding when they reach their normal maximum population. So you can breed a whole lot of boars with this farm. And all you need to make it is a pickaxe to dig that hole. So it's a great early game build. Okay, here I am in my cheat world, so it's easier to build. The first thing you want to do is just dig all the way down. And I should say I like to build on like a slight slope like this so that I can build the boar into the hill that's going above it. I think that looks kind of nice. The furthest down you can dig from any point is basically 4 full-size wall panels, which is 8 meters. So we're just going to dig down until we're not making any more progress. And now we've reached the bottom. We're going to build walls all the way up. In a regular game, you'll have to build some ladders and scaffolding to do this, but I'm just going to fly for time. So here we have 4 up. We're going to add another half wall just to be safe. And this will be the foundation of our farm. We're going to put a 45-degree thatch wall, thatch roof, and short pieces of wood sticking out. And a wall in the front. Here we'll also wall off the back. So basically what we've created here is a little holder for the boars, and it's at least 4 wall tiles away from the ground here in the bottom of the pit. And that's important because when boars go to mate, they check in a sphere around them to see how many other boars are nearby. And if there are more than 5 boars total, then they will not mate. So you have to make sure that any babies they have get removed at least that far, in this case through gravity, and then they'll continue to mate as long as they have food and drop the boars into there. So this is the basic technology. You just want to get boars in here and put a little roof on top so that they can't escape. And we're just going to put some walls on this so that the boars can't get out on the way over. And it's also nice to have a couple of doors so you can kind of have an airlock system. So what you're going to do is find a wild boar and trigger them to get aggressive towards you by just getting close. And once a boar is aggroing you, they'll basically switch between getting up close and doing some kind of attack, and then getting to a minimum distance away from you, and then coming back. So if you chase them around and they get into that minimum distance away from you mode, you can just chase them kind of indefinitely. But if you wait, they'll eventually come back to you. So knowing that, you can go up into here, kind of wait for them to come approach. As long as they don't get distracted, they'll usually run pretty close to you, and you can lock them in like that. So by using this method, you can get them to come into your little boar holding area. Oh dear. It can be dangerous to do this. You probably want to wall over your pit if you're doing this in a real game. Give me a second. Okay, so I've got 2 boars in here. The boars will generally attack the walls a lot. They don't do a whole lot of damage, so you don't really have to worry about that too much. Just you can occasionally repair things as you're working until they're tamed. I'm just going to try to put a door in here. This is definitely the trickiest and most finicky part, is getting the boars into a good position. It does take a while sometimes. You just have to wait for them to get out of the way. Sometimes once they're tame, it's easier. You can do some rolls to kind of move them around. Right click and then press space. And that'll kind of push them a bit. You can also lure them with food sometimes. Or the easiest way to move them a lot is to build a gate or a door and just open it onto them. And that'll kind of push them around, so that can sometimes help. For now, I'm just going to tame these guys. I'm going to do that by putting a floor underneath the snout here. And just dropping some raspberries in there. There you go. Okay. So once boars are no longer frightened, so you're not near them or there's no fire nearby, and they have food nearby them, they'll start eating it and they'll slowly get tame. They'll say acclimatizing, it'll give you a percentage eventually of tameness. You just have to wait a while until they're fully tame. I would avoid taming them until they're in the general place you want them, because they won't chase you anymore once they're tame, and so that's the easiest way to get them into the right spot. So I know I said it can be good to build into a slight hill like this, but I realized that my whole structure was actually too low. So ideally what you want is for the bottom of the nostril here to be about 1.5 beams off the floor. Just about, get as close as you can. So I've rebuilt this up higher. So how do you decorate the rest of this thing to look like a boar? Well, what I did is I have, after my 45-degree roof here, I have 2 floor pieces and then some stairs down. And what we're going to do is fit some half walls underneath both of these and on top of this one. And then we're going to do a 45-degree descending wall back here, a full wall here with a beam on top, and 26-degree descending wall here. We're going to use 45-degree beams down like this and along the 45-degree roof to give kind of a neck. That's the general shape that I've used. You can fill out the back here. And then in order to make the legs look more boar-like, I used a 45-degree beam from the front shoulder here and a 26-degree beam tilted out by 1 in the back, and then 45-degree beams for the lower parts of the legs. Sometimes it's easier to snap in the one above and then use that as a guide. Looks kind of spidery, but something like that. I think what's happening is my other build was just in higher terrain, so the legs didn't look quite so long. Now we can get rid of these poles here, finish up the bottom. We also have a little bit of a tusk here. This actually helps catch the food, so it's nice to have. You're just going to tilt out by 1, 2, stick it in like that. 1, 2, stick it in like that. And then I also like to have this kind of ear / horn thing up here, which is tilted out by 2, I believe. Now, in order to feed the boar, go down a half beam from the back nostril like this, and then go out to the side a full beam. From the tip of this full beam is going to be your feeding platform. So we're going to fit a little 1x1 floor in there, make another level of these guys to hold you in. And then we're going to support this whole thing on the end of a stick. So once you're in this little corner, if you walk forwards and put your cursor over the top right corner of the nostril here, you should be able to drop some raspberries and they'll kind of plonk into there. And that should allow the boars to eat them. Now on the other side, on the left side from where the boar structure is facing, you have to aim for the back corner of the nostril. Maybe a little bit in front of that, just because of how things aren't centered on your character. But when the raspberries are in those spots, they should be available to the boars if they're well situated. You can see this guy's in the right spot, the other one still isn't, so I'm going to have to do some more fiddling around. Okay, so I basically jumped up and down on top of the upper boar until he kind of slid down, and then I managed to place a floor piece kind of halfway down to the head there, you can see. And then I also put in some walls back here to kind of shove him towards the front. There is one more little detail you can put in at the front of the boar. You can take a 26-degree beam here, and then take a 45-degree beam and kind of tilt it up. And this kind of just gives the front of the boar a little bit more shape. Alright, he's sidled down into here, you can see his butt's poking through. Now we can remove the cover. And also remove all these spacers here. Make sure the nose opening is clear. Here we have our boar farm. I hope this is helpful. I'd love to see you guys make your own versions. Definitely let me know in the comments if you get stuck anywhere, if any of this was confusing. I know there's a lot of little details in this build. I'll try to help you out as best I can. Thanks for watching. Good luck and enjoy.